Grow, Sell, and Retire is the podcast for the lazy overachiever. B.D. Dalton, author of True Gravity and Grow, Sell, and Retire, is here to give you his 25 years of secrets, tips, and systems to take your business to the next level. This is your chance to find out what is working in sales, marketing, and running your business. If you stop learning, you stop earning. Now, here's your host, BD, with today's GSR podcast.
Hey everybody, BD Dalton here again with the Grow, Sell, and Retire podcast, 100th episode, broken into its third part, and this is the report all about retire. Retire's changed over the last couple of years, and Henry Tapper is going to walk us through his ideas and my conversation with him on the Grow, Sell, and Retire final part of the 100th broadcast. I'm here with Henry Tapper, and we're going to be talking about the retire side of the Grow, Sell, and Retire 100th episode. So, Henry, tell me why I want to listen to you about retirement.
Okay, well, I've been working on this subject since joining the financial services industry in 1983.
Wow.
So that tells you a little bit about how old I am. I'm now 58. So I kind of see this subject from a personal point of view. This is, for me, the final lap in a long race.
And when you look at it from and this is what the kind of my first question, and this is, and I haven't been in the industry as long. I started in 97, and kind of nepotism flowed from my dad starting in 76. I think that's what it was now.
I read.
But does retirement look like it used to? Come out of the coal mine at 65 and 72 you're dead and you live on the company roll for 7 years? Is retirement the same as it was for your parents or their parents?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned for my parents, because my mum's still around and she's just pushing 90. My dad passed off his Monster card last year, but his highest year of earning ever was when he was 85. Wow. He was a doctor. He retired at 57. He then became a not-for-profit politician, and he did that until he was about 75. And then he spent the last 10 years of his working life doing medical work, for which he was paid considerable amounts of money. He didn't need the money, but he was still working until 85. Now, that's the previous generation, and I think it's a bit of a myth to think that we all just stopped work at 60 or 65 because our bosses told us to. There has always been a grey area, which is that period between the point at which you don't need to be working quite as hard, or you haven't got the health to work quite as hard, and the point at which you physically put your feet up and stop. And that can be quite a long period. In my case, in my father's case, it was the best part of 30 years, a sort of hinterland of retirement.
And you need to, if you are atypical UK citizen, US citizen, whatever else it is, and you retire at 60, quote unquote, retire, you've got to make your pension pots, your retirement pots, your finances last for 30 years. And do you think that the shrinking Social Security pot, is that something that people need to be concerned about or think about and prepare for?
Yeah, I think that people have got to start with a spending plan which says, okay, this is how much I intend to spend in my later years. Have I got the resources coming from my various strands of income? And that could be anything from universal credit, if you're a low earner, right the way through to the portfolio careers of non-execs, and in between, the rest of us who have to rely on a combination of state benefits, our own businesses, if we're business owners, the savings that we have created for ourselves in either wealth or indeed in defined benefit pension schemes if we're lucky enough to have them. We have a phrase for this, which is that we need to start turning our pension pots into retirement plans, and that starts by understanding our spending plans. The second thing I'd say about this is that if you are in business, and I understand quite a lot of people listening to this podcast are, when you're like me, you've got to start thinking about succession quite early on. One of the things that worries me most is what I'm doing all this hard work for when I've got a family behind me, most of whom are involved in one way or another in this business. Can I pass this business on to them? What are the particular skills I need to teach those coming behind me? What are the financial plans I need to make for those coming behind me? And, this is kind of weird because all of us are coming up for the first time to this great space ahead of us where, frankly, we don't have to work and where the opportunities are all about having a good time. So one of the things I'm really keen on is that we, as well as having a spending plan and a business succession plan, we have some kind of health plan which makes sure we can really enjoy all this new free time we've got without spending half of it in the NHS. Or if you're really lucky in a Bupa Cromwell hospital or whatever. My plan to succeed really involves me staying fit. It's a plan which makes sure that there is a contingency if for whatever reason I become dependent on somebody else.
Yes.
And thirdly, there's a plan which says, worst case scenario, what if I was caught by the Grim Reaper? Is there a way of making sure that I don't leave a mess behind me? So there's quite a lot to a retirement plan beyond simply sorting out the pension pot. But I think that what most people do is they start thinking about retirement finances with that bit of pension savings that they've created for themselves, whether it be a SIP or whether it be a defined benefit scheme which they've got, or whether it's a workplace pension which they've just been also enrolled into. There's loads of ways we build these pots up. We think, those are the ways which we're going to retire. But when we start thinking about retirement holistically, it becomes an awful lot more than just spending my pension pot.
I think that's really where it comes down to. And a lot of people, just like when they look at their health and then when they look at their bills and when they look at anything else, is that they're scared to take that look because they know what the truth is. So when people look at their pension pots, they know it might not be as big, because what's the average pension pot size in the UK?
About £36,000.
£36,000, and people approaching retirement. If you're lucky, depending on which survey you're looking at, maybe 120. But what is, just generically, not from a financial advisor point of view, what does £120,000 worth of pension pot produce for you, income wise?
As an age wage.
Yes.
If you want it to increase in line with inflation or whatever, divide that by something like 40 if you're in your mid-50s, 30 if you're in your mid-60s. Yeah, you're talking about not much more really than £4,000 for an average person.
And that's a year. And then that's
a year.
And that's crazy. And you were talking about the number that gets bantered around is 120 and 35 for most people's normal pension pot. If I don't know too many people, even the scrimpers in the world, that can live off £1,000 a month. It's not.
No way. And if you think about it, what you're likely to get from these private pension pots, if you're an ordinary person, not a super wealthy, is about half of what you're likely to get from the state pension. So don't diss the state pension. State pension is worth twice your private savings. For the average person, I don't suppose that most of the people listening to this regard themselves as average people. They probably say, I've got a lot of independent wealth beyond that. But we've got to be mindful in this country that an awful lot of people reach retirement with a replacement ratio of less than 50% of their pre-retirement income. And an awful lot of those people are reaching retirement with a replacement ratio of 25 to 30%. And it's those kind of people I worry about most in my line of business because, frankly, you wealthy guys, you kind of got resources at hand. I think, BD, you kind of provide those kind of things. I'm interested very much in what's happening to those people who haven't got access to that kind of resource and are having to make their own way home, which is pretty hard.
And that's the hard part. So before we go down Grim Reaper sort of worried about this stuff, because you and I see enough of these people that need a lot of help, but sometimes don't want to take it. What are 3 things, and this comes from probably both of our backgrounds, of when you're talking to a business owner and you say, so what's your retirement plan looks like? And they say you're standing in it. That's, you're that's not a retirement plan, is you're standing in it. This, my business, selling my business, this is it. That's not a plan. That's just you working day to day and hoping. So what are 3 things that somebody can do right now that will start them today on their move towards quote unquote retire?
Okay, well, I mean, the first thing you do in business is you do a business plan, don't you? You do your revenue projections, you do your cost projections, you work out whether or not you're going to be in business in a year's time, 3 years' time, 5 years' time. Retirement planning is not dissimilar, right? It's just that the cash flow forecast lasts a lot longer because you're going to try and work out whether you're going to be solvent in 25, 30 years' time. I really believe in spending. I think it's a great thing. It's what we do in retirement. We're on the longest holiday in our lives, yeah? Yes. And one of the books which I've really been guided by has been a book called Happy Money, right? Happy Money says, actually, what money should do is make you happy. It shouldn't make you sad. So I don't want to instill in everyone listening to this podcast this feeling that retirement's going to be a bad thing. It's going to be a great thing. But the first thing you've got to do if you're a business owner is work out what your cash flow needs are going to be in later life and whether you have got a plan to meet those needs. And it doesn't have to be your pension. It could be your business, yeah? But be realistic. If you were going to try and raise money on a business plan and it didn't make sense to the person on the other side, then clearly you wouldn't get money. If, on the other hand, you're trying to sell to yourself the idea of a long-term retirement plan for you and your family, and it doesn't make sense to you, don't put your head in the sand and say something's going to turn up. You've got to have a clear strategy to meet the needs that you have in the future, your business people. So the second part of it is to think very much about where you're standing, as you rightly say, BD. You can't turn a sausage to a brick. You can't turn the physical property that you own, the business that you earn, into the moolah that you need to buy your weekly grocery bill, your sausages. You need it to have a liquidity about it. So you need a business succession plan which provides you with a liquidity to meet your spending plan. And the third thing is this health plan. You need to be clear in your head that you are going to be self-sufficient health-wise, either because you're fit enough not to need healthcare, or that you've got some kind of plan to meet your healthcare needs, or finally, if you don't make it, that you've got a death plan which makes sure that other people get what you want them to get without it all being taken away either by the taxman or something else for it. So those are the 3 things in answer to your question, which I think you need: a spending plan, a business plan, and a health plan.
That's awesome. And so you have those 3 plans. And I think in anybody that comes up to the last stages of their normal business life and they think it's not stressful, I think that's if you try to make it a 2-year exercise, then it's very stressful, because when you go to sell your business, people are asking you lots of questions about why did you do this and why did you do that and how does this work and how does that work? And you're having to explain something that you've probably just done for 30 years or 20 years. And that level of stress changes your health, and people don't understand that. So without that third thing, your health plan, then you're going to have a hard time.
Yeah, an awful lot of people leave work and then go back into work because they haven't got a plan for living, a lifestyle plan. So they get there and they know what they're doing, and they start feeling really depressed and whatever. And that's why people go back into work. It's why my dad went back into work, yeah? Because he just couldn't stand he had no plan for living, yeah? So if you're going to retire, make sure you've got a clear health plan ahead of you, what you're going to do lifestyle-wise.
And that's at the end of my book, Grow, Sell, Retire. I talk about the four different stages of those people. And that Thurston Howell, if you're rich and have nothing to do and you get bored and stuck on the deserted island, what the heck are you going to do? It's or you could be on the other side, which is you've no plan, no money, no nothing, and you're just working until your last day. So it's just working through those and having that plan and that mentality. It makes it much easier. And the plans never. I don't know if I've ever seen it. Never work out exactly like you put them on paper. I don't know if you.
Yeah, but neither do business plans, do they?
no, nothing does. But nothing works as well as planning, because if you're planning, then you can manipulate your way around some of the obstacles that are going to come in there.
Yeah.
So when you're doing this, so you have the plans and you've got these 3 plans. What's a thing that you can do to supercharge those plans? I know when I'm doing something in groups and running business owners and teaching them how to do stuff, it's sharing that so you have accountability to yourself or to somebody else. What's something that can supercharge those 3 plans for our listeners?
Yeah, I had a really interesting conversation yesterday with a guy some people may have seen on podcasts or read books of, a guy called Rory Sutherland. Yeah, mm-hmm. He's the chair of Ogilvy and Mather, the advertising. We had tea together yesterday, and I was saying to him, look, I've got this business and I want to help people turn their pension pots into retirement plans. What sort of things should I be thinking about? How can I supercharge, if you like, people so that they're actually retirement ready and actually retirement happy? And we started talking about this whole business of spending. And actually he'd read The Happy Money too, so we were talking about that as well. You've got to start really by looking at what you're doing with your money when you're in retirement. Is it making you happy? And don't spend on stuff that you don't want, that doesn't make you happy, because, you only live once. So I strongly recommend people who are in retirement think very long and hard about where the money's going and whether they're really happy with those kind of choices. Are those choices making them happy? That's a kind of spending audit which I do for myself. Yeah, even while I'm in work, and I guess I'll be in work for a good time yet, because I'm not the kind of guy who's just going to knock it on the head. The second thing is prepare. Make sure that what you've got by way of financial plans, especially pension plans, are working for your potential future. Now, here we come down to those dreadful words which the FCA have invented, the investment pathways, yeah? But it's true. Yeah. If you're in your mid-50s or early 60s and you haven't cashed in your pension scheme, which I hope most people here haven't done, yeah?
Amen, I hope
you're
not.
now faced with choices about what kind of income you're going to pay yourself in later life. So it's well worth taking a step back and saying, am I the kind of person who wants guaranteed income from all this saving stuff? In which case, I ought to be preparing my plans for annuity purchase, that sort of thing. Not many people will say they are, but they certainly should think about why they aren't, even if they aren't. If you're the kind of person who says, well, I'm going to be drawing down money as I need it, I want a nice big capital reservoir out there, and I want the wealth to just come to me when I need it, have you got a proper plan of how much you can draw down as a monthly income or a yearly income or whatever without that plan running out? Is it going to meet your cash flow forecast for the future? And the third thing, and this is something I say particularly for younger people, right, is think very hard about what your money's doing for you, right? It's the same for all of us. This amount of money that we've got saved up either in pension pots or in ISAs or in general wealth management schemes or whatever has got real value. Yeah, and in terms of the economic value of that money, the social impact of that money, and the environmental impact of that money, and the way in which it works to make a better place. I think all of us have got to start thinking very clearly, is this money doing more than just sitting there ungoverned in an area we don't know about, or are you going to take some sort of control over that money and make sure that it's got some kind of purpose? Now, not everyone is going to move their money into ethical funds. I appreciate that. But I think you've got to start having a conversation with yourself about this amount of money. Because if you're in your 50s and 60s, this is when you've got the most money you'll ever have. It'll start dwindling away in your 70s and 80s. It wasn't so big when you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. Now's the time that you're the big asset owner. So please, I plead everybody, if you want to supercharge your money, make sure that money is working hard, not just for you, but for the society you're in. So I'm a strong believer in an ethical investment on your terms. But you know your ethics. It's what you want, but you want to do it. But don't ignore it. And it is your choice as to where this money is invested. Unless you've got the money in some kind of defined benefit scheme, where you can still put pressure on the trustees to make sure that they're doing their job. But, generally speaking, it's our job to make sure that the money is working as hard as it can for the society we're in, as well as for ourselves.
Cool. So what projects are you working on this year?
The big project that I'm working on at the moment is to help people turn their pension pots into retirement funds. I've been working retirement plans. I've been working hard on the business-to-business side, helping insurance companies and large occupational pension schemes understand their membership, especially where there's a DC plan in place. And that's great. It's an industry utility. It's built. It's sold. It's going to bring in a nice little bit of money. But that's not what I really want to do. What I want to do is be able to get out and talk to those people who don't get financial advice, the unlucky 90% of us, right, who just don't have access. And I want them to have the same kind of quality access to the kind of plans which people get through financial advisors like BD.
That's awesome. And so what would that be called? Just for a question.
That is going to be called AgeWage, which is the name of the company I've got right now. And we're going to be delivering this stuff to large numbers of people on platforms, which basically digital platforms which we're building or co-building with others. And we're going to be building out from our business-to-business relationships so that effectively we're working with the big providers, and then ultimately we'll be well enough known to be independent of those providers and providing services directly to the public. So look out for AgeWage. It's going to be very much in the news. But right now, the project is about getting this big direct-to-customer service out to a very large number of people indeed. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people.
And that is true. It's getting past the unfortunate many. So it's good. So what type of tech or reading or things like that besides Happy Money that you have out there that's making you either happy or moving your business along?
Okay, I mean, I spend a lot of time with other entrepreneurs. Yeah, so I'm afraid I don't spend a lot of time reading books or even studying or whatever. I just spend a lot of time with organizations who are delivering tech. And the business that I'm in right now is based in Moorgate, the City of London, so I've got all the tech hubs all around me. So I'm not going to do that cheesy thing of saying, I just read this book by this guru who's changed my life, because I'm just not that kind of person.
That's cool.
But I am telling you that if there's one person who influences me a lot at the moment, who most of you will know, is a lady called Baroness Altman, or Ros Altman. And I read her blogs. I've talked with her just about every day. She's my guide and she's my mentor. And if any of you want to read Ros Altman's stuff, then please do, because she's a profoundly good woman.
That's awesome, Baroness Altman. That's really cool. And then how can our listeners follow you or learn kind of what you're doing and track you down to be able to?
The place to go is henrytapper.com. Yeah, it's a bit egotistical of me to actually name my website after me, but it's a blog. I write on it every day. It's got loads of good stuff on it. It's not all about pensions, but mostly it's about retirement and all the kind of ideas. So this morning I'm talking about my conversation yesterday with Rory Sutherland, for instance.
Yep.
And you'll always find on my blog something which is interesting. I think there's about 4,000 of these blogs which I've written over the last 10 years. So that's where to find me and my ideas. If you want to contact me directly, just please get to me at henry@agewage.com and come and see me. I work in a WeWork, which is wonderful, and a really different working environment. And if you want to come in and see me or meet my team, that would be great.
Perfect. And then last one, this is Quickfire. So somebody's coming on to the last minute of the retire part of the 100th episode, and they want to go back and rewind to the beginning of my interview with Henry. What is your Quickfire plan or Supercharge thing for the listeners to make sure that they can get to their next level when it comes to their retirement?
Okay, first of all, get yourself a spending plan which actually ensures that you're actually going to be able to meet it with revenues, and those revenues must come from your pensions and your savings and whatever. So do a cash flow forecast for the future. Secondly, if you've got a business, get yourself a succession plan. Really think about how you can get out of that business because you don't want to be in it forever. And thirdly, health plan. Make sure you're healthy, right? If you want to supercharge what you're doing, make sure that you know that the money you've got is working not just for you, but for the planet. So get ethical.
Awesome. So Henry Tapper, AgeWage, Pension PlayPen, all sorts of stuff, retirement guru. Thank you very much for coming on the Grow, Sell, and Retire podcasting, helping us with the retire part of our Grow, Sell, and Retire.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks for joining us on Grow, Sell, and Retire. For more information, tools, or to book one of our team members to work with your team, business, or to speak at your event or conference, visit bartdaltonconsulting.com or email contact@bartdaltonconsulting.com. Buy the book True Gravity on Amazon. If you want to work for the rest of your life, that is your business. If you don't, that is ours.